he said, you sing the aria and I will accompany you. I never heard that phrase again in my life, because normally the conductor said, follow me, you know, you do. Sing the aria and I will be with you.
Il catalogo è questo, delle belle che amo il padron mio, un catalogo che l'ho fatto io. Osservate, leggete con me, osservate, leggete con me. In Italia su 140, in Lamagna 231, 100 in Francia e Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1.300.
So Mr. Furlanetto, is the name right? Yes, it's right speaking. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. It's a great joy for me to go back to those amazing days, really.
Great. So when was the first time meeting the Maestro?
Well, meeting the Maestro was in 81. I was on my way to Germany, to Kassel, to do my first King Philip.
I'm from Kassel.
Are you?
Yeah. No, I'm born there. Yeah.
So in 81, I was on the way to Kassel to do my first King Philip in Don Carlo, when Giancarlo del Monaco, the son of Mario, was the intendant. And on the way to, I stopped in Salzburg because they organized an audition, which I had. It was planned at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And because it was quite busy, of course, as usual, it was running from a rehearsal to another. So I was in front of his office from 12 o'clock. And finally, I had the audition at 9 o'clock in the evening. So all my nerves and was totally gone. I was so, I wouldn't say bored, but because for the first time I saw him, I met him, it was sensational, but I was really tired to wait. And I went on stage, the big stage, where there was the shell of the Verdi Requiem that he was rehearsing. And he wanted to hear only one piece, Don Carlo, La Giovane Maman, which I did. And then he told me, follow me. And we walked to this office and he said, these are the cassettes of my Don Carlo, the one he did a few years before with Giauro, Freni, Carreras. Listen to it, and tomorrow morning at 12 you come back, because the intentions are not what I would like. So I understood that he wanted the very first part in a sort of sleeping time. I mean, as it is. And the day after at 12 o'clock, I was there, and 12 sharp, I went into his office, and I had a lesson of 45 minutes with him at the piano, and I was singing the aria. And after that, he told me, oh, I'm very happy, the voice is extremely interesting, I like it very much. I'm just sorry that for the next 3 years, I'm doing only German repertoire. The 3 years went through, and he suddenly came out of the blue, this offer for the Coronation Mass in Vatican, which was something that he always dreamt of, because he told me that his dream from when he was a young man was to do something in St. Peter for the Pope. And finally it happened. And it was amazing. The year after, it was already planned. We did the recording of Don Giovanni, and he was helpful 200% and encouraging, and he spoke a good Italian, so he could really play. We were basically making hours and hours for the recording. Not so many musical rehearsals, but many, many recitative rehearsals. When the year after we did it on stage at Easter, 87, I will never forget when we arrived with the orchestra to the point of the trio of the Commendatore death. And he said from the very beginning, no, don't sing out that way. You three, in this moment, you have three different kinds of fears. You, Commendatore, you feel that these are your last minutes of life. You, Leporello, you are the witness and the accomplice of the murder. And you, Don Giovanni, you know very well that from this moment on, your life is signed. So I want to hear and to listen in this trio to the three different kinds of fears. And so it was. And it was breathtaking to do it, to listen afterwards, and to have the pleasure to have done it in the way he wanted. There is another story regarding, because I was lucky enough to be with him in the last 4 years of his life. And in 86, I was in Salzburg Easter Festival for the Coronation Mass that we did the year before in Vatican for the Bruckner Te Deum, and I had a contract of covering the role of King Philip in Don Carlo in a case of an emergency. And the emergency came. My colleague was totally caught in his throat. He couldn't really sing. Mm-hmm. I went to the Generale, it was not Generale, Pre-Generale. The night before, I just arrived in Salzburg. I went to the Pre-Generale because I had to be present for the Generale, just in case. So I went to the Pre-Generale. I saw that the situation wasn't good, but not, I swear, not for 1 minute. I thought that if that emergency would have come, I would have done it, because Karajan could just do this, and Gauro, Raimondi, whoever would have jumped to do it. So I went to bed extremely comfortable, not nervous, and I was still sleeping at 9 o'clock in the morning after. And they called me to say, please, you have to come to the theater, you must look at the video and this and that, because at 4 o'clock there is a Generale and you have to sing today and the premiere. So I didn't have the time to be nervous. I went there, I did what I had to do. They fixed the costumes, the wig, which I bought after that. I'm still doing every Don Carlo with that wig and that. Anyway, it was a bit of fetishism is not bad in this profession. And 15 minutes before the beginning of the rehearsals, dress rehearsal with the audience in smoking, I mean, like a real performance, they escorted me to his office and we came there. So he told me, okay, in this point, remember, I will give you the cue, but don't look at me, because I don't want to see the singers looking at the conductor, because it's a movie, it's a world telecast, it will be a laser disc, I mean, everything you want, you could imagine, it was it. It was that. And then at the aria, the aria, you do it like you did it last time, 3 years before. And I heard something that I never heard anymore in my career. Because he said, you sing the aria and I will accompany you. I never heard that phrase again in my life, because normally the conductor would say, follow me, you know, sing the aria and I will be with you.
Great. Yes.
And it was stunning. It was my heart. When I enter on stage that day, normally before, for a premiere, for an important rehearsal, I was a bit nervous, you know, and that day, for some reason, I was boom, boom, boom. And after that, for the rest of my life, when I am in a good shape, I go in, I enjoy it. If I am not in a good shape, I cancel.
But how was the...
Yeah.
I just have a question of the Coronation Mass, because my interest, especially for his connection to Mozart, did he choose the Coronation Mass for the St. Peter or also for Salzburg?
Whatever he was approaching, that genius, whatever repertoire he was touching, it was sublime, it was the best you could imagine. So, and you know, when, for instance, you were doing rehearsals with the famous recording instead of the piano, or the recording that we did the year before, maybe, you would say, no, in this moment, don't listen to the recording because it will be different. Okay. But I told you, I don't think that he was preparing himself for something special, better than something else. He was just putting everything of himself in filtering these amazing compositions. When we were doing the recording of Giovanni in Berlin, with his Berliner, he was also doing some concerts, and one was Brahms. And I went. I didn't know specifically the piece very well. But again, what I was receiving from him, the filtering, let's use this word, the filtering, I found myself crying like a lamb. And still at this very moment, I was embarrassed at that, because they would think that I am totally cuckoo. I mean, I couldn't stop. I was crying because I was receiving something unique. And everything, I mean, luckily on stage I didn't cry, because I mean, when you hear the beginning, the overture of the orchestra of Villa Germain Maman played by his Berliner, it was something, I tell you. I was sitting on that chair, starting to be King Philip. And nevertheless, I was looking at the monitor and I was seeing this amazing head. And this, the left hand of God. And I was asking myself, but is that real? Am I really doing this? And I was extremely concentrated and not, if you want, nervous of the situation, because it changed my life in a matter of 12 hours. The day before I was a young, promising maybe singer, and the day after I was somebody chosen by him.
Great. But how was the rehearsal with him during the Don Giovanni production? Was it really picky? You said of the
recitatives, extremely, and it was funny. It was funny, the situation. It was funny because we were there in costume in this beautiful set, this beautiful production, and he would have been a fantastic Leporello. And I'll tell you why. Because we were rehearsing the graveyard scene, and so a lot of different kind of fears for the poor man. And he, from the podium, he was miming the face, like, you know, like little kids do when they see somebody making, and they do the same. And he was so inside the Leporello situation that you had only to look at his face, expressions, to understand which was the correct way to do it. He was extremely demanding, of course. I mean, musically, it should have been in the way he wanted, but for the recitatives and the building of the character, he was, to say peculiar is nothing. But it was great. It was great. It was
and
great.
that made the production so special of the Don Giovanni, or what was the case? I mean, of course, he conducted it, and there were all the amazing singers, but what was the...
You know, everything was magic in that production from the beginning to the end. And even when I look at it in a video, I feel shivers. I feel shivers because I remember the details, I remember the moments. It was a tremendous privilege. And unfortunately, only one thing didn't work as it should have. In 91, there was the bicentennial of Mozart, and he decided that we should have done a new Figaro. And unfortunately, before that, he left us. I did that Figaro. It was a lovely, beautiful production, a great conductor, nothing to say. But it was a project born with him, and unfortunately, the fact that it didn't take place was extremely painful. Yeah.
How was it to hear that he died? How did you get the news?
You know, at the first moment, I mean, everybody knew that he was suffering, that he had problems, but when it happened, I mean, he was having a business meeting, so he was still very active. I was in California, in San Diego. And on the way, the day after, I would have flown back in any case. And I could not believe it. I remember that there is a beautiful island connected to the ground in San Diego called Coronado. And I was there walking, and they told me, and I couldn't believe it, you know. Suddenly, I saw all these things that we recently at that time did, passing one after the other, and I came back, as I had to, the day after, and immediately my manager told me, you don't have to go to Pesaro, because I already spoke with them. You will go 2 days after, and you must go to Salzburg, because on, remember it was a Saturday, the funeral was very private, and I think in the night, and to avoid tourists. But there will be a big mass in the Dome in Salzburg, celebrated by the Cardinal of Vienna, and there will be a Mozart Requiem played during the Mass, as it should be. And the family have asked to have the people that he would have wanted. So there was Muti conducting, Anna Tomova Sinto, Agnes Balzer, Wimber, Gösta Wimber, and myself. And this was the greatest, how could I say, compliment to be there, because this would have been what he wanted. And even now, when I look to the video of that mass, it's breathtaking, absolutely.
Was it a special connection during the performance, singing? I mean, Mozart. I mean, he could have also chosen Verdi Requiem, but he chose the Mozart Requiem.
No, it was, it was Salzburg. It was for the greatest Austrian Maestro. I mean, I think that was the right choice in the Dome of Salzburg. I mean, I think it was the right choice, and I must say that there is nothing more, how could I say, killing than the Lacrimosa in that piece. And so it was extremely special to leave it there for this reason. The only worry that especially we had, and especially Maestro had, we had a priest next to us, to do it properly at the right moment in the mass. So there was the priest giving the cue. But that was the only, let's say, terrestrial worry. The rest was amazing.
Yes, I can imagine. So there was for sure an inner connection between Mozart and Karajan.
Oh yes, I always thought that this man wasn't from this planet.
Did he change your approach to the Mozart music, or was it your personal approach and he just formed it, or never touched it?
I mean, I told you. I mean, the only thing.
I mean, your personal.
The only thing that it would have been probably not difficult, but needing more concentration if I would have done Don Giovanni with him, because I had already years of this role. When I did Leporello for the first time with him, when I did this Mozart Requiem for him with Muti that I like very much, it was, everything was natural. I mean, it was coming out. There was nothing related to thoughts. There was not a bar result of the construction done by your thoughts, by reason. It was just, let's go, let's be in it, let's allow our heart to be with him.
And also with the Don Carlo production.
That I told you was beyond imagination. I was a young man, and to be chosen by him to be there without a minute, I swear, one single minute of rehearsals, neither musical nor staging. I only saw the video because they told me the video is important because you must see there are several positions where you must be for the cameras, not for him or for the music, for the camera. So I look at it, I took note but everything was extremely logic, let's say. So the only big difference was that the entire aria was seated, which is okay with me. From the very beginning to the very end, he was seated. It was a decision that they had during rehearsals. And of course, the camera was expecting me to stay there for the entire piece, which I did, and wasn't a problem. And very often in many other productions, I did the same. Because I felt that it was correct.
But did you want it?
Possible and beautiful.
Yeah. But did you wanted to have a special Verdi sound from the singers, from the orchestra, and a special Mozart sound, or
I don't know.
was it all?
From the orchestra, I'm sure that, I mean, I wasn't there for the rehearsal, so I cannot tell you what he asked to his musicians, but they had such a symbiosis, him and them, that they just, the famous left hand, they just needed to follow that, and everything was done in the volume, in the intentions, everything.
I was talking with Mrs. Bambry, and she were telling me about her production of Carmen with him, and miming him, and were telling him, "That's you, Maestro, mixing the salad." Yes, that was.
No, I must say that during the intermissions, when there was a pause, we were talking a lot of cars, because he loved cars. In that moment, he just received the last Porsche built a car, 959 was the name, into only 200 cars, not more than that. And he had one of these. He received, and he was telling me, the beauty, the feeling of driving this and that. And in those days, I just had bought one, normal one, not one of those, of course, a normal Porsche Cabrio. And one day, I was going to the theater, and he was coming out with a big limousine. You know, he was in the back, looking like this. I said, I made this like this, but he was. And in the afternoon, we went back to rehearsals, and the first time I saw you with a Porsche. And he was shocked.
I think it was very special making music with him.
Yeah.
Compare it to other conductors. I mean, compare him to Böhm. It's yeah.
Yeah, well,
really
I didn't have the chance to work with Böhm, but I mean, I was in time to work with Giulini, with Bernstein, with Scholti. They were great. They were absolutely geniuses. This man was somewhere up there.
Big energy.
And you know, if you look at the amazing festivals of that time, he was the boss. He was the general director of the festival, and he was inviting all of them. I mean, Bernstein was there, Scholti was there, Giulini was coming, and the young rampants come strong like Muti, Levine, Abad, they were there too. So he didn't feel competition. He was there and inviting everybody of great level. And for this reason, that Salzburg Festival of those years, especially that, was the Olympus. You know, when I came the first time to Salzburg for the audition on the way to Kassel, and I was walking for this beautiful city, looking in the window shop of the posters of this singer, that conductor, that director. I mean, to everyone. And I said, oh my God. And that day, when I came to Salzburg for the first time, belonging to the festival, which was 86, and I saw my face in those windows, it was unique. You know the little tunnel that goes from the Don to the market?
Yes, on the left side.
That was full of faces of everybody involved with the festival. It was like, it was such a magic time.
Fantastic.
And you were learning a lot because you had the possibility to touch with your fingers the proof that you achieved a certain level. Because if you were there, it meant you deserve to be here. Otherwise,
I have one question left. How were the ensemble rehearsals together? I mean, in Don Giovanni, they have a lot of ensembles, and also in Don Carlo. How he did this kind of rehearsals?
well, he wasn't stopping. Basically, almost never. Just if something happened with the staging, we had to repeat, but not for musical reasons. He was doing what we did rehearse. We were following by letter everything what we were supposed to do. And at the end, of course, there was a good meeting after rehearsal and notes. But even here, I tell you, most of them were for the recitatives and the character of it. Mm. He loved it. He loved to create the characters.
And by the recitative, it was all for the words you're singing, or also the kind of melody, or was the melody for the words, like the classical?
No, it's one thing altogether, my dear. I mean, the words go into the music in that specific way because there is no other way. And you understand, doing, for instance, a lot of Mozart and doing it well with the right people, you will understand how important is, and it was like that, to privilege the word. The word applied to music is the most important vehicle that you have to get to the heart of the people. And you can say something in a certain way, but you can say it with a sort of suspension, let's say, for a moment, and it will come. And the same thing applies to your body when you want to be a character on stage. The way you will use your hands, the way you walk, you look, you turn your head, is the same thing, and it's like painting. And the word are all these all together. I mean, I was so lucky to have done for the main part of my artistic life, fundamentally Mozart, because then when this was physically finished, because I did what my favorite role for many years was Figaro, and I love to do Figaro, and I love to Giovanni and Leporello as well. And I did Alfonso many times. I did Guglielmo. I mean, the only one that I never did and I would have loved was Papageno, but I mean, that was another planet, you know. But doing so much Mozart and with amazing people like him made me understand the importance of the word and the phrase. And this is applicable then to whatever other repertoire and then whatever other language. Because when I did my first Boris, I did the same thing with the Russian. And I think, and they liked it very much. And at this very moment, I am the only Westerner who ever did Boris at the Bolshoi and Mariinsky. And there must be a reason somewhere, and the reason is here: to be honest towards what you're saying and living what you're saying. If you're doing that, they will understand that you are not mother language. They will understand that, but they will receive every single word. They will receive the message, and everybody will be happy.
True. Yeah.
The word applied to music is the special key that opens everything, and gives you a, when you do it and you do it properly, and you know that you are doing it properly, and you build a character that is exactly the way you want it to do, the satisfaction is priceless. My favorite role in this moment, of course, I love to do Don Carlo, Boris, but my favorite is Don Quixote, because of the amazing humanity that this man has. He's a myth. He's what every man should be for 3 hours in his life. I mean, his purity, poetry, love for everything, goodness, and to be on stage in a beautiful, intelligent production. Doesn't have to be conventional. It can be modern if you want, but it must be in respect of text, music, and the character. When you have all you are there is nothing in the world that can give you more satisfaction.
Yes. But what was your just personal favorite role of Puccini?
Yeah, but Puccini wasn't very nice with the basses.
But for the sopranos.
Oh yes, in baritons, how in tenors with the basses. Actually, I had my real important debut in a Puccini opera was Colline. He's the only one, let's say, we had he has a lovely tiny little aria. The character is beautiful. The production was great. It was in Trieste a long time ago, with a couple of young, already important singers, a 30-year-old Carreras and a 30-year-old Ricciarelli, and it was stunning, splendid. Then I did some other Puccini, Fanciulla, yes, I did that. Turandot, even Timur.
Timur, oh.
Yeah. It's beautiful, but of course, if you compare these roles to the universe or the other, it's a big difference.
Yes.
It's a big difference.
The Puccini is very touching.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Puccini and Mozart are the...
I can imagine for you, sopranos, must be overtaken. I mean, amazing.
Yes.
A bit risky though. A bit risky though.
Yeah.
especially one, Tosca.
And also Butterfly, maybe.
Yes, but Tosca is so dangerous. I saw so many good voices finishing with that role that, I mean, you should arrive to that role when you are fully mature with your technique, of course, vocality, mind, everything. It is not a piece for young emerging people.
Yes.
And please don't do that mistake.
I'm not a Tosca.
Good. Do something else. And
I'm more you.
And this is valid for for many other things. I mean, there are roles very special for every kind of vocality, and behind those there is always a bit danger. For instance, for basses, if you think the young Verdi, probably he was writing for certain specific singer that he had at the time. And if you look at the first part of Verdi operas, the bass is not really a bass. You have an aria Attila, splendid role. You have the aria for typical bass and the cabaletta, typical baritone. If you start to do that when you are old Zaccaria in Nabucco, same story. If you start to do this kind of roles when you are still a baby, you will hurt yourself a lot.
I just want to finish. So thank you so much for your time and for your such interesting stories.
You're very welcome.